Hello everyone, my name is Josh Gilliland, attorney blogger for Bowtie Law and on the Legal Geeks. And with me today is my friend Chris Chalstrom from Shepherd Data in Minneapolis. And we're going to talk about technology assisted review and specifically about predictive coding. Chris, how you doing?
Great. How are you, Josh?
I am wonderful. It's 85 degrees, it feels like summer, all is well in the universe.
We actually have sun here today, too, believe it or not. It's the first day in 7 days.
It's a glorious thing. So, when I think tar, I think La Brea tar pits. But we're not here to discuss Lucy and woolly mammoths. Let's talk about technology-assisted review. What does that mean to you?
Well, I think TAR is just the set of tools that you use to handle your data. I think you can include a lot of different things within what's called TAR. It could be like relativity or summation, concurrence, just the simple review platforms. But it also could evolve to something where you'd be using things like concept clustering, maybe near duplicate analysis. Currently, a lot of people are applying technology-assisted review definition to that computer process where you have algorithms which help you rank documents by relevance. But I really think it should be a broader definition. It's basically any computer program that helps you to review documents.
And I agree with that. And I mean, when we look at De Silva Moore and the original, use of the term CAR for computer-assisted review, we've had TAR for over 20 years now, and how people attack a review set. So let's define predictive coding, which is, well, we both remember Karnak the Magnificent in determining what's relevant. But how do you explain predictive coding to your attorney clients?
Well, predictive coding really focuses in on the iterative process used by several programs to help you rank documents. Generally, we see it as there's like 4 steps to the process. In your document collection, you first collect everything that would be in your universe, and then you would weed out anything that would be extraneous, such as duplicates, executables, things like that. You might narrow your document universe down by broad keyword searches. So once you've done that, what you can do is you can load this set of documents into a program, and the program will actually help you generate some sample sets to review. Now, that sample set creation has some controversy about it because there's a couple of different ways that you can do that.
Yeah.
The attorneys can actually give programs like predefined sample sets, and I kind of have some issues with that because I feel that kind of skews it and it doesn't give you as good of a sampling process. So then alternatively, what you could do is you can actually have the program determine sample sets, and it will actually go through the collection and start pulling little sets for the team to review. Now, and then once you get a sample set, you really want to have the attorneys or the attorney that's in the know to start working with the program. So what will happen is the attorney will get a little set of documents. Usually it's in sets of like 200 documents or so, and they'll start going through it and to determine relevance. And then after that's done, you send it back to the program. It will look at those sets, and then it will give you another sample. So it's an iterative process, constantly going back and forth between the key reviewers and the program. And that will happen, sometimes it takes quite a bit, but it will happen until the program reaches a stability level. And then once it gets to that stability level, the program goes through the entire collection and it calculates relevance scores for each document. And then after that, you can decide what you want to do with those documents. Lots of times what we do with our clients is the internal law firm attorneys might review those highly ranked relevant documents. And then those for lower ranked documents, they may not review them at all. Or maybe what they do is outsource those and have some kind of an outsourced review provider take a look at those. So that's how I see predictive coding.
Similar view. My only difference in how I would approach it in advising someone the use of it is to break it down by causes of action or defenses.
Yeah.
And so that way, if we know that there's a breach of contract or and bundled with that breach of fiduciary duty, being able to work with the jury instructions and putting together what I want to prove to, so that way we have the categories, being formed with here's everything responsive to the breach of contract claims. Here's everything responsive to the breach of fiduciary duty. So that way, because the case is about causes of action, and I would try leveraging the technology to meet the causes of action, or if I'm the defense, that would meet my defenses that I am pro-offering.
Yeah, I agree.
But there's more cool toys out there that we can play with advanced analytics that also fall under the title of technology-assisted review. What have you seen? Because I love visual analytics, being able to see all the email communications, and that's an awesome way to identify custodians and date ranges. What else have you seen and put to use?
Well, I've actually used quite a bit concept clustering, and this is
Mm-hmm.
where similarly conceptually related documents are grouped together. For example, like for the concept of sports, instead of just, focusing on the keywords of sports, you could have a wide variety of documents that would be related to that concept, such as baseball, football, golf. It could also include documents discussing like the Vikings or the Red Sox. So it's a way of kind of broadly thinking about the documents, but then being able to group them together by these key concepts. And then there's some really cool things that I've seen that Nuix has done with some of the graphic analytics. Those are just really, really cool. They've done some really creative things with showing you relationships between the custodians, where there's some critical dates. Also, there's some really nice graphics on custodian data use. So I'm very impressed when I'm seeing what's coming out of Nuix.
Yeah, they've done some great work. There are other ones. The folks that I connect with at Xera have done some impressive visual analytics as well as with the custodial relationships, and that are just cool. And a lot of the products have done some very impressive things. And all of them are developing these features to make finding the smoking gun easier.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Relativity Fest this fall too, because they've done some nice things with pivot tables. So I have a feeling they're just going to continue to expand upon that too. There's supposed to be a big release in the fall, so I'm excited to see that.
Cool. Well, types of cases matter, and there are those who will believe that there's like a litmus test on when to use these tools, how big the case has to be, when it's not cost effective to do it because the case is small. In your opinion, what size case works the best for technology-assisted review?
Well, it's generally, I think, cases over 100,000 documents work best. Also, you don't want to just look at the volume of the case either. You really need those documents that are rich in text. So, for example, if you get documents that are basically Excel-based or just all numbers, it's just not going to work because there's really nothing for it to categorize or do concept analysis on. And obviously, if you have a whole bunch of handwritten documents, that's not necessarily going to help. Or perhaps you have just bad OCR documents. That might be that could be problematic as well. So you need to take a look at not only the size of the case, but also the quality of the documents.
Now, if the case is not big enough for TAR, what can they do?
Oh, there's still the other tools available. I mean, we use almost on all our cases near duplicate analysis.
Yeah.
What that does is essentially group documents together by how similar they are. And that's different than concept searching. That's actually taking a look at the text and then doing kind of a comparison of the text on how similar they are. So we use that in almost every case that we have now. Also, the email threading, that's always nice to use. That will actually show you, the sets of documents, and it'll show you the most inclusive email at the end of the email string. So that's always helpful. And then just simply using a document database. I can't believe for today that there's anyone out there that's not using document databases. I think it would be very difficult to practice law without some kind of document database behind it.
That and there are affordable cloud ones that
Precisely.
that attorneys, like NextPoint, there, has great pricing for folks like that. And so, I mean, the solutions exist. Also, Nuix has Proof Finder, which is a nice analytic tool that's, I think in the range of $100 that a lawyer could use on the smaller set if they can't afford a service provider.
Right.
But,
Exactly.
but I really believe cost has come down for a lot of these tools that make it affordable for a lot of folks. I'm a big fan of anyone who's a product manager should go and watch the case management calendar at the local state courthouse and think, do my tools, the product that we make, help the litigants in this courthouse? And maybe they're not supposed to. Maybe they're designed for the, mega litigation, and that's fine. We need specific tools for that. But the majority of litigation in this country, over 90% in state court, it's always good to have products that can help those litigants because they are over 90% of the litigants in the United States.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I've been really encouraged by I love the software explosion that's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Remember a few years ago, well, not so few years ago now, I guess, but 10 years ago, there was just basically 2 providers out there, maybe 3. And now there's a plethora of options, and I think that is fabulous. So I think it's a good thing. So it gives you a lot more options, a lot more insight on different things that you can do.
And competition's good.
Yes.
And there are those who can develop tools for specific market segments.
Mm-hmm.
If you are dealing with the AmLaw 10 that are dealing with monster litigation, that takes a very specific tool set. If you're developing tools for the solos to small firms, that's a very different tool set. And they're all needed because there are people in legal jeopardy that need help.
Yes.
So, well, let's talk about actually using these tools in the practice of law, because I think that's one of the big issues out there is we talk about the tools and how awesome they are because they are groovy, but let's actually apply it to the practice. If you had, say, a mid-sized firm come to you and a case that had 3 custodians, about 30 gigabytes before it, post-collection, before processing, what technology would you use to attack the set? And let's say it is a breach of contract and trade secret case, so we know there's going to be lots of email.
Well, first what you need to do is weed out duplicate documents, or at least track where all the duplicate documents are. And then also anything that wouldn't be content rich. So that would be like executables, those standard things that you need to get out of a document collection. So you can essentially, the process is called denisting. So it's basically removing anything that's a program file or anything like that from the collection. So that's the first thing that we do. Then what we also do is we often index those documents, and indexing kind of gives you a transparency of the documents, and it does open it up for basic keyword searches. I'm not totally against keyword searches. I think that sometimes you have to use it to kind of do a broad swath against the document collection, but I wouldn't totally rely upon them. It really depends on your case. If the attorneys don't really have an idea, or they're starting to get to understand their documents, you might want to consider using assisted review at that point. You might want to do predictive coding at that point and process a larger collection there. It really depends. We would have to talk to them. Sometimes keyword searching doesn't catch relevant documents because the parties in the case could possibly be using different terminology or even code words that the attorneys don't even know about. So you have to be we kind of balance that. We usually have a conversation with our attorneys about that. Then the next thing what we do is we determine after all the processing and taking documents out how much volume we have. So then we're going to go ahead and test that out and see if there's 100,000 documents or not. And if there is, then we have a serious conversation about concept clustering as well as predictive coding. I'm just not thrilled about the old model of eyes on every document model. I think it's too expensive and it takes too long. It takes too long for large cases. And the way you described this case, this model case that you just talked about, sounds like it's pretty rich. It sounds like it's text rich. It's good emails. So you could actually apply, the concept analysis on this, and as well as the predictive coding. I definitely would do near duplicate analysis, so you can identify those groups of documents that are similar, as well as email threading on it. And then, of course, I would promote relativity or summation to review those documents.
Both good choices. So, well, looking at that, and you actually did talk about a bunch of the tools that could be used, and more importantly, the strategies to go about it. And a lot of that does help with the data reduction. Well, let's take it down to some of the code requirements that we have. If we're the plaintiffs, we have to prove causes of action. And so how would you, start identifying electronically stored information that would go to your initial disclosures that would support your claims against the hypothetical defendants?
Well, you could do it in a couple of ways. Of course, it really depends on how quickly you need to do this and where you're at with it. You might have to rely upon pure predictive review to help you get to those issues. If you just simply have a really nicely defined database, that's going to help you weed things out and identify things. You could also use things like pivots, and you can actually kind of narrow it down by a reporting feature depending on what kind of review platform you're using.
Mm-hmm. How about identifying custodians?
Well, you could do that a couple of ways. You could do it by the metadata that's extracted out. You could actually use tools such as Nuix to help you look at the custodian information.
Mm-hmm. And same with like time frame of the lawsuit, there's metadata. I also think this is where any of the products with visual analytics is very effective.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to see the communication patterns, when were the smoking guns being created, because if we can see communication spikes, that starts identifying the relevant time frames that need to be analyzed. What would you advise someone to use when they're getting ready for the meet and confer and the litany of topics that need to be discussed at the meet and confer?
Well, I think assisted review would help you do that. Because you can actually start working with that, and it's going to bring to the forefront those most relevant documents. And you could actually start doing some review of those documents and have them ready for the meet and confer.
Yeah. And we survived the meet and confer, we survived the 16B conference, and now we're off to the wonderful world of discovery review, so we can start exchanging information. We have the standard bearers that are very helpful, but how would you actually advise them to use the products in review? Because this is where people can start attacking review like they're still going through boxes of paper and ignoring the fact that you can zero in on date ranges, you can look at specific custodians, you can assign custodians to people to review. There are a bunch of cool things that could be done to either track efficiency in review or even make it more effective because of good old-fashioned search or being able to leverage predictive coding to get the job done.
Well, especially in this case that you're talking about with the email, I definitely would do the review by email threads. I mean, it wouldn't make sense to do it any other way, because if you did a traditional linear review, that you would miss so many documents, and you'd have so many inconsistencies in your review. So email threading definitely would need to be used in the review.
Agreed. Agreed. Now, we've talked a lot about good old-fashioned review and actually getting to the point of review and then produce to the other side. But what is the benefit overall of using technology-assisted review in litigation?
Well, it really allows the attorneys to leverage technology to reduce the review costs. And it's a fraction of the linear review costs. And it's much quicker than traditional review. You know, you're going to be able to get through a massive amount of documents much faster. And studies have even shown it's even more accurate.
Agreed. So final question, and we're now in the May is ending, summer's beginning. What did you think of the new Star Trek movie?
It was so great. And it was a really nicely homage to the old Star Treks too. There were so many references to the older movies, and actually even the series. It was just great. I loved it.
Well, that and the reference to Section 31, which was one of the big things in Deep Space Nine, that with Bashir and O'Brien. So that was a nice homage as well.
Yeah.
And we had the NX-01 on Admiral Marcus's desk.
Yes.
So that was also
Ooh,
nice.
good pickup on both of those. Good.
Well, I am a geek, and again, for the record, there were e-discovery issues in there as well, because the who Khan used to blow up Section 31 did send an email prior to blowing up the building. So we do get computer forensics in that way, and Scotty does computer forensics on the transwarp teleporter to find out where Khan beamed
There you
to.
go.
So we do have. There are some wonderful ESI issues that we could have explored further.
I wonder what the software.
So JJ,
what will the software look like then?
it probably would be handheld and a cloud interface, or cloud. You interface through a tricorder, and there probably would be a cloud backing to it. Or it could be super powerful and fit on what would be the size of a thumbnail.
Yeah, or probably have holographic charts too that you can actually turn with your hands. Wouldn't that be cool? That's actually kind of available now.
Yeah, it's not quite there yet. I mean, when you watch, it's like the season finale of Castle had some computer forensics taking place where it's being projected up on the wall. It's like, that's not quite...
Yeah.
How it works right now.
Not quite.
It's not quite that cool. Well, awesome. Chris, I look forward to visiting later this summer and having a rip-roaring good time and with all the folks at Shepherd. And thanks so much for sharing your knowledge and expertise on e-discovery.
Great. Thank you so much, Josh. It's been a pleasant experience. Thank you.
Awesome. We'll see you very soon.
Bye-bye.